Until early 2020, the food supply chain in the United States was relatively stable. COVID turned that on its head. As a nation, we experienced the juxtaposition of farmers destroying crops and dumping milk, while supermarket shelves remained empty and hungry Americans lined up for hours at food banks. Welcome to Against the Grain, a series presented by Grace Farms Foundation that explores organizations working at the intersection of impact and innovation to fix our food systems. I'm Karen Kariuki, your host and the Foundation's Community Initiative Director. Since opening Grace Farms, we've been providing food relief to our communities. But as food insecurity soared during COVID, we wanted to do more to help. Join us on this hopeful journey in search of solutions to fix our food systems. Freight Farms is an innovative leader in the agriculture technology industry and has emerged as a global leader in container farming. Freight Farms are complete, vertical, hydroponic farms built inside shipping containers. Their farms are capable of growing lettuces, herbs, and hardy greens at commercial scale in any climate or location. They enable any individual, community, or organization to grow fresh produce year-round. Caroline Katsarubis, Director of Marketing and Community Relations at Freight Farms, spoke with us about their work and their mission.
There are about 350 freight farms located all around the world. Also drastically different environments. So the extreme heat of the desert in the Middle East, and then the really incredibly cold and snowy tundra of Alaska.
When founders Brad McNamara and John Friedman first envisioned Freight Farms back in 2010, there was no agriculture technology industry. John and Brad first started experimenting with rooftop gardening, but noticed it was more difficult to create a model that could be easily replicated and scaled, particularly in an urban environment. They also noticed that shipping containers were being used for tiny homes, retail spaces, and other purposes.
We have so many entrepreneurial individuals who turn into these small business farmers who are growing for their local communities, or we have restaurants that are growing directly on site of their location so that they can provide their patrons with the freshest produce available, and they're able to tailor their menu specifically based on the taste and the composition of the food that they're growing. And then we have these schools who are using it as hands-on learning experiences for students, and then these amazing nonprofits who have just incredibly diverse missions.
One of those nonprofits is Lotus House, a residential facility for women and children experiencing homelessness in Miami, Florida.
They have a farm on site that is actively being used as an education center for the children in an after-school program. So they're able to come to the container farm and learn about the process of growing plants. So they get to plant the seed, really watch it grow, nurture it into maturity, and then they're able to actually eat it. So it kind of changes their perception of healthy food.
Our centralized food system is one of the root causes behind our changing climate patterns that are affecting food production, causing drought and wildfires, for instance. Freight Farms is moving towards a more diverse and decentralized food supply system to reduce these risks.
California and Arizona are responsible for about 98% of the lettuce production for the entire United States. The way that industrial farming works, in order to grow that much food, it's often with monoculture and monocropping the land. So they're concentrating on one or two varieties, which can lead to a lot of different detrimental effects on the environment, whether that's soil degradation or waste water and evaporation through massive irrigation fields. And then also it leads to the increased use of things like herbicides and pesticides, which have actual effects on people's health.
Freight Farms' innovative approach focuses more on water conservation as opposed to soil regeneration.
we use a recirculating water system, meaning that the water runs over the plant's roots and is captured in a gutter and then recirculated back through the tanks and monitored through a variety of different sensors that are picking up on the nutrient levels of the water and making sure that it's always at optimal conditions. So when you're operating in a recirculating manner like that, you're actually only using about 5 gallons of water per day to grow upwards of 13,000 plants, which is truly remarkable.
Part of making modular vertical farming accessible to farmers anywhere is by lowering barriers to entry through technology.
The software is a key tool in making our farmers successful because it's essentially a farmhand in their pocket, and it provides things like training and just automation that kind of removes a lot of the traditional barriers to entry into farming. So you don't necessarily need to know everything about agronomy and food science and nutrient composition of the water. We try and take the heavy lifting out of it for you so that you can just focus on, maybe growing your business or growing your project.
Freight farms are capable of growing upwards of 2 to 4 tons of produce per year, which is incredible considering it's just a 320 square foot box.
So when it comes to working towards a more sustainable food future, you really have to think about more innovative solutions to solve this incredibly complex problem. And it might not look like what you have in mind. So a lot of the times when people step into freight farms, they are truly blown away. They think that it's a spaceship. This is super futuristic, but it's not the future. It's right now. I encourage people to truly think about solutions that haven't actually come about yet.
To reimagine the food systems of tomorrow, we must be open to new ways of thinking, new models, and new innovators. At Grace Farms Foundation, we believe that everyone has the right to be in proximity to their food sources. We are energized by platforms that can grow an abundance of nutritious food, widen the circle of those who farm, and foster community. If this story of innovation and impact inspires you, please share it. The more we educate ourselves about the food systems we rely on and those working to fix them, the more we can come together to find innovative solutions. Thank you for joining us and our efforts to create a more efficient, more equitable, and more just food system.